Hi, everybody. My name is Donna Gorton. Welcome to my show, Willows, and I am part of the Global Enlightenment Radio Network. So, tonight we are going to discuss Nikola Tesla. Now, it's unique in that I'm going to first lay a foundation down of who he was and some of what he did and how he was as a person for those who may not be as familiar with him. I mean, we all kind of like know his name, right? But not everybody is familiar with, um, on a more personal note of things. And forgive me, but I'm taking a second to get to my YouTube channel so that I can bring us up on there. There you are. And I'm also going to open my Facebook chats to make sure that my Willows Bend group on Facebook is aware of where I am and how to find me. Always helpful, right? So if you give me 1 second, Facebook's warming up. It's taking forever on my tablet for some reason. So let's try this again and make sure it'll give it to me because people end up getting nervous when they can't find me. Okay, so thank you, Katie. You did share it into Willow's Bend for me. Appreciate that. So, all right. Get it called up here. And I should give you automatic post approval in that way. I don't have to go in and approve the post first. I try to be careful with my postings with people, just in case, because you never know. So let me put this in there so they know I'm started. Bear with me, everybody who's listening and watching elsewhere. We'll get started 1 second. Okay, there we go. And well, I don't know where it went. This tablet is pokey slow because it's older. And unfortunately, it's all I have to work with as far as secondary stuff. So maybe my admin, bless her heart, might have already shared it, the live feed, possibly. Let's hope. There it is. Okay, great. Thank you, Sandy. So, alrighty. I'll get my chat open if it lets me. It might not. All right, so I guess I'm going to have to go also open the YouTube chat because it's just not opening it on Facebook, and I'm not going to waste all night trying to get it to go. Now, wait a second here. Some fusion, right? There we go. There you are, darling. Just so I can communicate with you guys, because that's always nice to be able to do. And I'm not sure where it's not giving me the comments in Facebook. It's airing in Facebook. So for those watching in Facebook, be aware I can see the feed playing, but there are no comments listed. So I'll leave it open, hope for the best, and go from there. And I'm not seeing the new live feed up and running on Soma Fusion. So anyhow, all right, it's just not being cooperative in any way, and that's gonna have to be that way, I suppose. All right, anyhow, is what it is, right? Yeah, the new feed isn't up on Soma Fusion for whatever reason, so let me reopen it under Gurn, and that way I can at least communicate with everybody. I mean, I don't have to, but it's handy considering for the second half of the show, I had already on Sunday, had contacted Nikola Tesla on the other side, spoke to him and asked if he would be willing to come through into a chat setting to for the show in order to be have a conversation with everybody. Now, a lot of people nowadays, they kind of misuse the term channeling. Um, for most, channeling is, the technical use of the word involves actually having the soul being talked through you, but they kind of most of the time will push your consciousness aside in order to do it. And many times you don't have any uh, awareness of what's being said. Now, I don't like that method of communication because I want to be able to, know what's being said and how it's being said, be a part of the conversation, if you will. So I frequently, for me, it's just a conversation with them where I hear them, I see them, and then I pass back comments to them and they answer and I pass it on to you. So that's how I work all that for anybody who's new to me. So, device issues are always kind of on the sucky side. I'm just saying. We're so reliant upon them anymore, aren't we? I guess it's just going to be really super slow and loading. But yeah, and it's not up in Gurn or on YouTube at all that I'm seeing. So we're just going to have to forego that one, I guess. And I'll go with the other, with my Facebook chat. If it gets called up and started. Wait. Maybe we got it. Oh, let's get excited here. So if you are interested in coming in via a telephone call, you are welcome to call in. And the phone number for the United States callers, if interested, is, I just lost that on there. Great. Okay. Oh my goodness. If one device could communicate effectively, that'd be great. So for U.S. callers, the phone number is area code 929-436-2866. And the meeting ID number is 522-657-2748. And if you are an Australian caller, then the number is 612-8015-6011. And the meeting ID number is the same, 522-657-2748. So there we go with that. And I'm still working on getting device cooperation happening here. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, well, I'll just get the notes out and get started with all that stuff then, because it's not cooperating with me at this point. We'll let it do its thing and hopefully it'll load. So, Nikola Tesla. All right, so let's get going on a foundation of who he was, where he was from, the background statistics on somebody that we're all interested in, of where they're from and, what kind of influenced their process of things. So, let's see. For Nikola Tesla, now he, yes, I know all that, guys. I'm getting messaged by my members. So Nikola Tesla was born in Croatia, actually, which I found interesting and I didn't know beforehand. And he was born July 10th, 1856, and he died at the age of 87 on January 7th, 1943. Oh, we might just have it up here. All right, so it's opening in chat and Facebook for me, so I'm just trying to get it from there. Hi, everybody. I'm working on opening my chat in Facebook for the show so I can see everyone's comments. Okay. So I got you, Sandy. Thank you. Karen back had to get an admin to remove the troll. You should, Karen, be an admin still on Willows Bend if you're talking about in there, but you should be still on there. I didn't take you off anyway. And I don't see Reverend Ed, but I will say hi to him. But I see everybody else now in their comments, so I think we should be good to go, hopefully, on Facebook chat. because YouTube is not opening on any of the channels for me, so we're gonna nix that. I can see comments. Yes. Finally, my old tablet is just a little bit slow. It is what it is. So, and thank you for making it, Aaron. I know it's early for you on the West Coast. So, Nikola Tesla, who was he and what did he do? So Tesla was actually a Serbian American who was an inventor, an electrical. There's Ed. I see you, hon. Different group. Oh, okay. I thought you meant we had a troll in Willows Bend. Gotcha. So Tesla was a Serbian American who was an inventor, an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, a futurist, meaning that he predicted future trends and stuff. And he helped design our modern AC alternating current electrical supply system, which is one of the things he's best known for. Hypothetically speaking, he wanted to be able to provide basically worldwide free electricity to everybody. And of course, the powers that be couldn't have that. That threatened way too many systems and control and so forth. So, yeah, that wasn't allowed to take place. But some of his designs included, now this is interesting, the death ray. It was a theorized particle beam or an electromagnetic weapon. Now, it did go on to actually be utilized by the military, who took his basic design and built on it. And it is actually a weapon available to the military today, which is kind of scary. But with that stuff, there were several other inventors simultaneously who tried filing patents on all of those things. And yet, hi, Stacy. Yeah, I had a hard time getting on too, sis. So don't feel bad. But he was credited as being one of the first ones to file the patent on it. But others, later on in their careers went on to try to take credit for it. So anyhow, he was patented as being the designer of the death ray. He also, now those things that they came out or became popular back in the 1970s, the plasma balls or the globes. I actually have one that it's shaped like a dolphin, and I'd gotten it to have as my daughter's her bedtime, like nightlight at night when she was little. Now, granted, she used to sit and play with it a lot during, as she was falling asleep, but that was okay. She learned a lot about how electricity can move and flow with that. So he designed those, the plasma globe or lamp, they're also called. Radio control, so like the remote control cars and things that little boys tend to get to play with, and girls. But they're even used today for adults will use them to fit into smaller spaces to investigate things and be able to have a way to get in there to keep it rolling with a camera on it. Paranormal investigators will use them frequently to also check out smaller spaces that they can't fit into themselves safely. And so radio control is still very much used today. The Tesla coil, the Tesla oscillator, the Tesla turbine, the Tesla valve, the torpedo, which I'd never heard of that associated to him either. The violet ray. Now this was the use of on the light spectrum, the violet color, the violet light spectrum color of violet was said to be very healing, and so but it used it like a low level electrical current. So this wasn't the same as like shock therapy, but it was used to heal different areas of different people's bodies. So they would take it, and apply it for someone's eyes or for their head if they had suffered from migraine headaches or had other parts of their bodies that weren't working well or were down with illness. They could use this to apply it to those areas, and it was said to help with healing, which is also interesting because on the spiritual side of things, the color violet is part of your chakra line, and to tune into the color violet, like imagining yourself as being covered in the color of violet is it helps align your chakras and tunes into healing energy spiritually as well. So interesting little cross connection there. Now, this is cool. He also invented wireless power transfer and the world wireless system. Now, this was really the forerunner of our cell phone towers to give us the capability to have, cell phone service. He was the basic, he started it all. I mean, this is my old time cell phone. I'm so out of date. Oh my goodness. But he created these, he had this working tower. He mainly resided in and around New York City area. But he had designed this tower right outside of New York City, I guess, that was it ended up being shut down for lack of funding and so forth, but he had built it with an attached lab, and it was where he worked on building this tower. Now, it didn't quite make it to completion. He had a couple glitches he couldn't ever work out completely, but the idea that this stuff came about way back then is pretty intense to think about, I think, and pretty amazing in terms of, he started it all, so to speak. And I don't know if I'm missing anyone else's comments. The last one I see is Stacy saying hi, everyone, but it's not changing when I scroll it. Let's side swipe it, see if it catches up. There we go. Yes, Tammy. She says, sounds like the healing med beds. Very similar idea to that, in using the violet rays to help heal that. So yes, very similar idea to that. I was wondering if nobody not saying anything in my group is rare for that long. And for those who are interested, I can be found in my group Willows Bend on Facebook. The Willows Bend is what it's under. And I do the show in here every Tuesday, and everything else I do anywhere else gets shared into there as well. It's a safe foundation, a group that is accepting of any belief system, and I don't allow drama whatsoever. Quite spiritual. We focus on alternate theories, other energies, and accepting the understanding that things are bigger and more than just the small boxes that some belief systems can teach, and that there's more to it than that. So whatever your foundation of beliefs are, you're welcome in there, and you're not ever going to get hassled for having that belief system, because I don't tolerate that. So Erin says, Isis Kilmer thought the show was late or not paying attention to time zone. She said she's not able to make it. That's okay, Erin. She did message me, said she was going to be late, but give her my love. Karen, it's not new. I've had that for probably about a month and a half, 2 months, but it's still daylight out here. So, we're having a snowstorm right now, but so the light's quite behind it, so you can't quite see the design as much as normal, but it'll be dark by the time the show ends. So yeah, it's just right now it's still light out, but yeah, we're getting snowed on again. Ugh. Sorry, I'm not a fan of winter, for those who are listening and who may live elsewhere where it doesn't snow regularly. I am in the United States, in central New York, and we get snow. We have hard winters here, and yeah, we definitely get a lot of snow over. I mean, it can vary, of course, but yeah, when it snows, it snows. Did you get snow too? Yeah, Karen's in Colorado, so that doesn't surprise me. I know it snows a lot in Colorado as well, and the Rocky Mountains are there, of course. So, yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to be a huge storm, but a storm nonetheless. Any snow, I understand better now where the elderly are more interested in moving south for the winter. And I probably would if I had a way to do it. I wouldn't want to be down there in the summertime, and where it gets, because I don't do well in heat either. So, but anyway, I don't like cold. It doesn't like me much either. Hi, Brenda. Yeah, so you and James can see it on Facebook. It is broadcasting there today, thankfully. We never know if Facebook is going to play nice with us or not on there, but you're getting a mix. It was supposed to start as a mix, Sandy, and then turn over to snow, and 3 to 6 inches. Portland may actually get snow tonight. Interesting. Wow, Karen, you haven't gotten much at all this season. I know Donna's willow tree the other side of me. It's that there. Is that what you mean, Tammy? Um, the yeah, we've had a lot of snow this winter so far. We got hit with a big nor'easter that buried everything in about 2.5 feet of snow. Yeah, it is. I mean, the window is still on the same side to my view as normal, and then over here is my, everything's still in the same place. I didn't realize Zoom flipped things over, but yeah, it's all the same stuff. I'm not, I'm one of those people when I put things someplace, it stays there, not one to shift and move things around. So it's kind of its forever spot afterward. You too, Mom and Dad. Send my love to both of you, Brenda and James McManus. So by the 1910s and 1920s, Tesla had made a significant income off of his inventions and was involved with, I mean, all the big wigs back then, including Edison. Now, he had some personal issues as far as his personality goes. By the sounds of it, he seemed kind of like OCD tendencies and like obsessive compulsive, for those who don't know what that translates to. And I guess after Edison passed away, he wrote kind of a not so nice thing about him and how he dressed in personal hygiene and so forth. I don't know, but at any rate, it was kind of not so nice after somebody died. But Tammy says she moves stuff around then runs into it at night. Yeah, exactly why I don't move stuff. Hi, Autumn. So by the 1920s, Tesla had spent up a lot of his money and left a series of unpaid bills actually when he died. And he had lived through a series of different New York State or New York City hotels. He didn't have one place that he called home, surprisingly. But his work kind of fell off into obscurity following his death until around the 1960s. And then he had kind of more of a, hi, Sandy, how are you, love? He had more of a resurgence since the 1990s. He kind of made a comeback where everybody started kind of being aware of him again and his work. So on a personal note, now Tesla was a very handsome man. He was tall. He was 6'2". In his younger years, he was quite handsome. Now we had some disagreement, interestingly, in my group recently, because I had never heard anything about him living to old age, and then passing away after he was like 87, and I always thought he died when he was like middle aged. And so I did like a poll in there wondering if it has something to do with like Mandela effect, where to see just how many people actually did think he crossed over at middle age versus old age. I'm going to say it was about 50-50. Half of people thought one way and half thought the other way. And we were jokingly saying, he's actually been cloned and is working in an underground bunker somewhere. It may not be far off from the truth. Who knows? But, so he was described as being stylish and elegant and meticulous in his grooming and his clothing. He was also described as having light eyes, even though in pictures they looked like they were dark, but they said light in the article I was reading. That he had really big hands and remarkably big thumbs. Now, I never noticed anything unusual about the size of his thumbs, but okay. He was also said to have a photographic memory and had completely memorized like complete books. I mean, I know back in the day, I actually did as well have a photographic memory about anything that was read, and I'm definitely a visual learner, so I know how that works. But could I quote the entire book? Well, no, but most, definitely the gist of it and where things were at. Right, Sandy. She says, I don't remember ever hearing of him getting old. I didn't either. And then Chris Stokes posted a picture of him from when he was elderly and right before he died. I guess it was like one of the last pictures of him. And he was 87. Never heard about that. So maybe the Mandela effect. Like I said, it was about 50-50. Yeah, I know, Chris. Big thumbs, right? Like all the things to take note of. Exactly, Karen. And I'm going to leave out my next train of thought in relation to that, but I'm sure Those of you who know me well can know where that's going. So we're going to cut that right there and leave it. Aaron probably can guess too. So he could also speak 8 different languages, including Serbo-Croatian, which was his home language, his primary language. He could also speak Czech, English, French, German. Yeah, see, my members know me. He could also speak Hungarian, Italian, and Latin. He was 6'2", Tammy, so, and really big hands. Just leaving that one there. Anyway. Okay, what the heck? I just got kicked off of my show on Facebook. Come on now, tablet. Don't be dumb. This is my old Kindle for anybody who's, watching. This is my last Kindle, so it's a couple generations older than my current one. My current one is I guess they just released a new one, but so this is the one that was right before that. So this is a few generations ago. So it is older, fully own it, but it was still connecting and working. I'm not sure why it's being difficult today, but so give me a second, guys, to reconnect to Facebook. It just booted me off. So Tesla's health, I guess he wrote several different autobiographical books about himself. When I looked it up, there were more than one. So an autobiographical, well, that means he wrote them himself, right? So in his book, he reported that he would experience having flashes of light cross his eyes. Now, I know it's common for people who get migraines and stuff to experience that. So I don't know if that is the case or not. If he got migraines, it didn't go on to say that. It just said that he would get blinding flashes of light cross his vision. And I'm trying to reopen that. Let it load. And then they were often accompanied by visions. Now, we had wondered this, and that was partly, I think, part of the interest in asking him to come through today to talk was about, what was his process? And because a lot of the geniuses who went on to go on to describe things, that it was their process for the genius levels like Edison and the greats in the scientific world, that they had different things that could be considered metaphysical in nature of how they got the information they got. Brenda said, hi to everyone. It's hard to up with everyone or keep up to saying hi to everyone. Got you. Yes, Autumn, we're doing Nikola Tesla today. Yeah, it's mandatory that you have to wear your mask when going out now, Brenda, in most places, or you can get hefty fines and stuff. I even heard that, I think it was in China, that they had, little robotic machines that would go around to essentially bust people for not wearing a mask in public. I thought that was interesting. I don't know what form they're in, but they just mentioned, AI technology robots monitoring that in China for people. Kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, the masks aren't really that effective, but some rules, and so you got to wear them. It cuts down a little bit, but it certainly doesn't prevent it completely. I would say social distancing probably accomplishes a bit more than just the masks, but anyhow. So he would get these blinding flashes of light that would be accompanied by visions, and they were often, he said he would just it would be often linked to a word he'd come across, and other times they provided the solution to a specific problem he'd really been struggling with before that. So it's interesting because he would think of a word he would come across, he would get this blinding flash of light, and then a vision would basically give him the answers he was seeking, or solve the problem he had been struggling with in one of his inventions of how to proceed or so forth. I have many anti-maskers at stores. They don't socially distance either, says Karen. I hope they got it. This COVID sucks. It does suck. It does suck. But here, yeah, it's you don't get, if you don't have a mask, you don't get allowed into the stores here. So Exactly, Sandy. Me too. I've been social distancing long before it became rule to do so. um, so, oh, how not hope? Okay, glad you specified. I was gonna say, okay, she's saying it. Yeah, basically. Um, yeah. So he would get these solutions coming to him. I heard that when he died, a lot of boxes of his information was missing, says Sandy. Yes, actually, a lot of all of his equipment, his research material, his notes, all of that stuff, and it's thought that the government came in and took it all, and have today still have possession of it. Hey, Candy, welcome. So he would say that that just by hearing a name of an item, he could then envision it in realistic detail, and that this included extreme precision in all of the dimensions before moving into a construction stage of things. So he would get like the a vision of what he wanted to build and how it was supposed to be built, and what size and shape to make it, and what materials would be needed, all before he even started planning the physical building of it. Uh, so that it's interesting that wonder just who or what was giving him those visions. I just watched Sanctuary with him, and it's interesting. I don't know what Sanctuary exactly is, but oh, my allergies just rearing up on me for some reason. So this way of thinking of forming it into a picture in your head in complete precision, detail, and having the dimensions and so forth already kind of formed, it's called picture thinking. So it does have an actual name. And Tesla also reported always having flashback memories from past lives. You are in the live, Candy, absolutely. Sometimes the network has issues connecting with getting Facebook to play nice with them, and they can't get connected to Facebook. If that should ever happen in the show, just go to the YouTube channel and watch from there, because, yeah, Facebook doesn't often play nice. I bet some of his ideas have already been used from the info that was stolen from him since Sandy. Oh, no doubt. Absolutely. Or they're further developing stuff in secrecy from the world population. I wouldn't be surprised if they've taken it and built upon those basic ideas to create separate things that are kept from the public. That's a governmental golden rule, so to speak. So he would also say that he got flashbacks of different lifetimes he had. So I find it interesting that, as brilliant as a man he was, as scientific as he was, and based in the 3D reality of understanding of things, he did seem to have gifts of being able to tune into past life stuff and get information from some higher dimensional realm, and the visions he would get. But specifically, I mean, that's one of the questions I was interested in asking him, of where that was coming from for him. It's a sci-fi show, okay? Um, like where on the other side, I'm sure he would have the awareness more so than when he was here, of who was giving him that knowledge. And we didn't ask him that when I first brought him in to ask him would he be willing to do the show. We asked him a few questions, but I kept it shorter because I didn't want to have everybody ask all their questions before bringing him into the show, and then everything's already been asked and discussed, so there'd be nothing left to talk about. So with regards to relationships, Tesla never married. He actually later in life felt like he really did give too much energy to his work and didn't make time for relationships in general. So he was more celibate in nature and just kind of stayed away from that. Yeah, he may have been on a first name basis with the higher ups. Absolutely, Sandy. Yeah, you were telling me about that, Aaron. That's on our to watch list. Aaron and I will do like group watch parties, and where you can, two separate locations watch the same stream and make comments and stuff. So we have a list going of movies we want to watch. So interestingly, Tesla regarded women as being superior in every way, but never married, and he remained celibate, feeling it was hugely helpful to his scientific abilities. So he felt like it would be a distraction, but later in life did admit, yes, I gave too much of myself to my work and focused on that too much. And I probably should have made time for that in my life, but he never did go on to do so. And even if he had, I mean, I could see him still being just as devoted to his work, and his wife left to raise any kids or whatever, but on their own, separate from him. You know, I mean, Einstein was the same way. Einstein had, I believe, one son, and I could see the same thing of an obsession with the work and to never really being around to parent a child type of situation. But I'm just speculating. Now, that said, that he thought women were superior in every way and everything else, but he said that his view later in women changed as he felt in his later years women were trying to outdo men and losing their femininity by trying to be in power. So, in an interview with the Galveston Daily News on August 10th, 1924, he said, quote, "In place of the soft-voiced gentlewoman of my reverent worship has come the woman who thinks her chief success in life is making herself as much as possible like a man in dress, voice, actions, in sports, achievements of every kind. The tendency of women to push aside man, supplanting the old spirit of communication. Try that one again, Donna. The old spirit of cooperation with him in all the affairs of life is very disappointing to me." No, he never married Karen. Tesla didn't get married. He stayed celibate and alone. So, in other words, he really wasn't happy as women evolved and got wanted more equal rights and wanted, you know, to prove that they could keep up with it and were every bit as good as a man across the board, and seen as equals and treated as equals. He had a problem with that. He wanted them more, you know, feminine, soft spoken, and there to, you know, be a softer woman rather than somebody who kept up and outdid men. He really felt like the goal of women was to outshine men and take over the world and push them aside, basically, which, you know, I don't see it that way as a woman myself in today's world. But he was also quite judgmental toward overweight people and people's taste in clothing. There was a story about he had a secretary once who he didn't like her style of dress, so he insisted that, "Hi, Christine," that she go home and change her clothes, or she would have to be fired. Um, oh no, definitely no. I mean, me either, Karen. We wouldn't have gotten along well in that way. I mean, on the other side, I'm sure he's kind of evolved past that by now, but you know, in life, yeah, not so much. So he had basically threatened his secretary that he would fire her if she didn't go home and change because he hated her dress. Like, you know, that certainly wouldn't fly in today's world by any means, but he was very dapper and meticulous in his conduct, his dress, his style, and everything else. That was very, very important to him at all times to be very, very perfectly groomed. Like I said, kind of OCD in nature, where everything had to be just right. And if it wasn't, well, then it was a problem and seen as sloppy and messy and didn't vibe with his world. And again, if anybody should happen to want to call in, the phone numbers for the United States are area code 929-436-2866, and the meeting ID number for Zoom is 522-657-0748. And in Australia, it's area code, well, I don't know if they do area codes, but the number is 612-8015-6011. And the same meeting ID number of 522-657-2748. Looks like a zero. Let me fix that. I almost think I said zero the first time, but it's 2748. Sorry if I did misspeak. There, I've adapted it on my paper here. The jerk, apparently. Yeah, I mean, he had a way about him for sure. which is why I thought it was interesting to present this material, because this stuff isn't like well known about him unless you knew him back in the day when he was here. It's that people more focused on his creations more than how he was as a person. So, and also interestingly, despite how devout he was in his work and staying, in the laboratory setting most of the time, he still would walk between 8 to 10 miles a day, and would curl his toes. Yes, curl his toes 100 times per foot each night, saying that it stimulated his brain cells. Kid you not. We have synchronicity 444 here right now. Interesting. Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on the battery on my other device because it runs out fast. So yes, he would curl his toes 100 times per foot every night, saying it stimulated his brain cells, and that he would walk 8 to 10 miles a day. Now, I don't know how he found time to do that, because walking 8 to 10 miles, that takes a little bit of, I've done 10 miles once and thought I was going to die. I will say that. And this is in my much younger years. So, yeah. And interestingly, too, his spiritual beliefs. This is going to surprise you, Chris, I think. It did me when I was coming upon it. So he said, quote, "To me, the universe is simply a great machine which never came into being and never will end." I curl my toes, it don't work. You're funny, Sandy, right? Yeah, the only thing I've ever heard that curling your toes does is if you have jet lag and you do it like on a plush rug after you fly, that it helps you better adjust somehow. I don't know how, but it helps you adjust to the time zone differences easier. You don't get the lagginess, so it helps dispel the jet lag sensations, I guess. It's what I've read anyway, but not ever heard it in conjunction with increasing brain cell capacity or activity. So he said about his spiritual beliefs, quote, "To me, the universe is simply a great machine which never came into being and never will end. And what we call soul, or a spirit, is nothing more than the sum functionings of the body. When this functioning ceases, the soul or spirit ceases likewise," end quote. So that kind of surprised me that he took that stance in life regarding spirituality, considering he was what we would call today as being gifted, and that he got these visions and stuff. And I didn't come across anything where he talked about where he thought that came from, but he did think that, kind of more like an atheist, that when you die, and that's it, and that the soul dies with you, and then you are no more. So, yeah, it does help with circulation in your feet and legs, of course, but increasing brain cells, or activity in the brain cells, I don't know about that. I guess it would depend on what you're thinking of while curling your toes, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, so he wasn't what, I guess, in many ways, the way you would think of him as being, I guess. I don't know. You always think about those people whilst being eccentric, sure. Kind of having a lack of socialization. Now, he also did attend college, but he never graduated with a degree. He dropped out, which is also interesting considering how far he went in life, how good he was, how brilliant he was, but he never, I guess, dealing with the curriculum stuff didn't interest him. Yeah, there's that dichotomy, Chris, because says but he knew about his past lives, right? And so if your soul self dies when you die, then how would he have memories, or where would they get passed on if your soul or spirit dies when you die? There is a divergence there and a missing piece of the puzzle there, and perhaps that's something to ask him about when we bring him in to see, where the difference lies in his thinking, because yes, that's kind of a contradiction. He would have a lot of flashbacks concerning his past life, but then how can you, if you feel like when your body dies, your spirit ceases to exist, then where would you have the past life memories to begin with? You really can't, unless, there is a continuation there. So, yeah, it didn't quite make sense with that, but that's what all the material said anyway. So, anybody have any questions regarding him as a person before we bring him through and see what he has to say? Good, my Sudafed's starting to work and loosen stuff up. I don't know why. I wasn't that way earlier, and all of a sudden I get dried up and snuffly. And while I wait to see which chat to catch up to me, in addition to the Facebook group of the Willows Bend, in which I go live in here and on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, of course, on Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I also have a Facebook page called Beyond the Veil, in which I do readings in there on Friday nights. That's just separately on my own in Facebook, as well as I go live in here on the Global Enlightenment Network on Thursdays, 4 to 7 p.m. too. Sandy said, what was his view on religion? So he said, to his spiritual beliefs, quote, to me, the universe is simply a great machine which never came into being and never will end. And what we call a soul or spirit is nothing more than the some functionings of the body. When a functioning ceases, the soul or spirit ceases likewise. So he didn't ascribe to any one particular religion, but he thought that, like, when you died, that's it, you die, and your soul goes with you. But then again, with having flashbacks of past lives, how could you have flashbacks of a past life if there isn't a continuation of the soul? Heard that he developed some type of new energy for power. He was aware of the hydrogen. I know I'm not at all scientific, so forgive me for this, but he had figured out how to use hydrogen to harness it to provide and develop. He wanted to, or his goal was to provide free electricity for everyone in the world. And he did develop a whole list of things that dealt with electricity. Let me go back to the research here for you, Sandy. So he's the one who created the plasma globes, the ones that when you touch them, the electricity zooms to your hand and kind of follows the motion of your hand over top of it. That's a plasma lamp or a globe that became popular in the 1970s and still can be found today in stores. I had a dolphin-shaped one for my daughter that was a nightlight for her. He developed radio control, the Tesla coil, the Tesla oscillator, Tesla turbine, Tesla valve, the torpedo, the violet ray that was used for healing, wireless power transfer, which in a world wireless system, which he didn't quite get right before his death, and he kind of ran out of funding for it. So I'd seen a picture of an old tower that looked like it was not 100% finished, but his lab was there as well at one point, where he was basically working on the beginnings of like cell phone towers and stuff, and the technology that goes into those. He was involved with that. You see that in your corner without a light attached to it, Sandy? That's interesting. So he developed like the plasma lights that make those that, push the electricity out and follow your hand around the lamp. If you move your hand over them, it'll zoom towards them, and they're fun to play with. Hi, Annette. Well, I would guess it's spirit energy that you're seeing, but it's interesting that it manifests that way. So that was one of his goals. He also created the AC current, which is the alternating current electrical supply system. So he wanted to, again, his ultimate goal of what he wanted to achieve was to provide free electricity to everyone around the globe for free. And of course, the powers that be couldn't allow that to happen, but at any rate, it was still, that was what he wanted to accomplish, and probably why his stuff went missing. More than one. There was another inventor that Aaron had made me aware of, who had basically took Tesla's plans for this building that he had been building and creating and kind of finishing the work that Tesla started on. And he didn't finish it before his death, but it was about basically you'd enter one doorway and you'd walk in a clockwise, it was a round building, so you'd walk clockwise around the perimeter of the inside of the building, and it was said that through whatever processes were inside, again, I'm not a scientific person by any means, it's never been my thing, but however it worked, it was said to cause healing at a cellular level. And if you went counterclockwise, it could undo certain illnesses and things. However, it wasn't finished before the gentleman died. And then after his death, hi, Amy. Oh, I know, Sandy, right? That would have been a beautiful gift to the world. But again, the powers that be, it's all about money, and they can't have that happen. So, and so with this building, much like Tesla's original work, this gentleman, when he died, there were men who showed up in dark suits in unmarked vehicles who asked to go take a look around at his stuff she didn't understand who they were. She thought that they were kind of just supporters of her brother. And she said, oh yeah, have at it. His lab's over there. Go ahead. And next thing she knew, all of his stuff had been wiped out of this building, the inside of this building, the equipment that made it work, all of his research notes, etc., gone and wiped out. So in the end, it was thought that the government was behind raping the insides of the building. And same as it was with Tesla, conspiracy theories say that the government took possession of his work and all his research journals and so forth. So yeah. What was his name again, Aaron? I can't remember his name. Aaron will tell me. He's the one who let me know about this guy. We watched a video on him and what he had built. And the building itself is still standing today, kind of out in the middle of the desert, but it's completely empty shell at this point. Yeah, I know, Sandy. It's kind of sucky. 64%. So I think what I'm going to do is switch cords here. George Van Tassel, thank you. I knew there was a van in there. Go. Plug it in, plug it in. Yeah, so an interesting dichotomy for him. He had gifts, but yet didn't believe in a soul self. Integratron, yes. And thank you, Aaron. So interesting dichotomies with him, in that he, in many ways, was so enlightened in his experiences and things, yet still didn't seem to attribute it to anything when he was alive. So again, that's one of the things I would like to know about when we bring him through here in a minute. What are his thoughts on that stuff now from the other side? What was his understanding of that? Hi, Marianne. My Dalmatian Jake, for those who don't know, is resituating beside me. There's your puppy Jake. And for those who are new to me, I'll give you a quick glimpse. That is the puppy Jake. He's my old boy. And over here is, where are you? Oh, she's sleeping, but she's curled up little girl. Facing the wall. She's in the corner. She likes to sleep on my blanket that I have folded up there. And she likes to sleep on top of it because it's probably warmer. But anyhow, I'm saying sorry for giving you the ride. I'm watching. There's a delay in where I'm recording versus how it's playing on Facebook. So, yeah. So anyways, unless someone has questions, we can go ahead and I can reach out to him and try to bring him through and see if he's available to converse. And again, a lot of people in the readings world, in the psychic gifted world, because I am a psychic medium, I'm a medicine woman, I am considered a wise woman, in my knowledge base, in my teachings. Um, I'm a mishmash, really. So I'm very spiritual in nature. Um, but am very open-minded with things, but I am also a psychic medium and can converse openly with them just with equal ease as I do with people here, as long as they're willing. I had a dream about Jake last night, says Sandy. He was grinning at me and was going to tell me something, and the thunder woke me up. Wow. Did you have thunder at your house last night, out of curiosity? Oh yeah, Karen, like when I was a child, I was given the ability to discover and go like look at for myself what was right for me. My mother said have at it, so I did. I took the time and I read the Bible cover to cover. And back then I used to be able to quote scripture like like white on rice, through rote memorization and stuff, but I never had taken the time to read it from beginning to end in completion. Did that at age 11, and then I went exploring. Huh, you had thunder and lightning storms. Wow. Was it now? Was it? Well, it probably doesn't. You don't get like anything snowstorms there. So, yeah, and Mod Podge, same idea. So, anything I was curious about religious teachings, I went and checked out. So, I had cousins who were Jehovah's Witnesses, and I knew they were, but I didn't really knew what it meant or what they stood for. So started questioning the crap out of her, probably much to their dismay. Was kind of like, "Oh, you don't celebrate birthdays, really? And not Christmas either? Why?" And wanted to know that why part of how and why. What are you? How do you believe what you do, and why do you celebrate the way you do, or don't celebrate, as the case may be? And went with them a couple times to their Kingdom Hall and just got a vibe for how it worked and understanding of it. Wasn't for me. No rain or snow though. Huh. There was an indie based film, says Annette, on Tesla called Tinker. That was interesting. Huh. It's a good name for him, the Tinkerer. And so from there I went on my mother's last husband was Catholic, non-practicing completely, but he was Catholic. So I went and explored the Catholic religion and to get a idea of how they operated, what their beliefs were. Attended the church a couple of times to feel that out, and that was also not right for me. Um, I babysat for a Jewish couple and checked that out and used to ask them questions. Whilst I didn't attend temple with them, I would watch their son while they went, um, and then just ask them whatever questions they would tolerate me asking at that age, probably much to their annoyance, but it's how you learn, right? And let's see, what else did I go and study? Well, then from the library standpoint, I, was learning and looking up like Buddhism and all, other belief systems to gain a better understanding of things and learn certain commonalities that exist across all different belief systems. Um, the core message is the same, despite what humankind has done with the message since they've gotten it is another matter, but the core message is the same. So kind of just went on to do my own thing and then started getting trained to be a medicine woman at probably around age 20, 21, somewhere in there. And then after that, just self-studied and self-learned and integrated Wicca. And also, um, so I kind of walk in both worlds. So I consider myself a white witch as well. So a finger in a pot, in a lot of different pots and toes dipping into and put it all together. And that's where I reside. Integration. Talk about an can't say that word, Aaron. Integratron. I am my own Integratron. So there's some about me anyway, for those who are not familiar to me, who are out there listening around the world. And I just started my shows in here a couple weeks ago, so I'm the newbie on the block for Global Enlightenment Radio Network, but it is a family, and it's a more realistic family than most places I've been in. to where, yeah, sure, there's people who don't have the same belief systems and disagree and so forth. But in the end, everybody has each other's backs. So that's what counts in the end. Be nice, Aaron. We're not going to go there. You don't need to get tagged by Facebook for overt inappropriateness. I know it's weird how it shows up on camera, isn't it, Sandy? Kind of like a purplish, glowy color when it's not that. And I mean, you know, the color was the tip of a cigarette. Yes, I'm a diehard smoker, fully own it and admit it, and I have no desire to quit. So there we go. Know the risks. I still choose to. So, all right. So, does anybody else have any other questions regarding the information about his lifetime and stuff, or we good to go? And then I will bring him through and see what he says. And that you're funny. Not today, Satan. He's not satanic. He's just mischievous. That's all. Aaron's just mischievous. With kind of a, at times, junior high school level sense of humor, but I love him. He's like my kid brother. Well, he is my kid brother. And I don't doubt we've had past lives as that. So if you recorded it on camera, Sandy, or you watched it on camera, it would be, I bet. It would come out just the same. Because in person, you know, it's orangey red and gray with the ashes. So kind of, you know, it just is on camera for some reason. Light reflects off of it differently. You are like Loki, absolutely. But we love you. So there you go. Let me message somebody really quickly who is having issues finding my show. Get my things. I'll let you explain who Loki is in a second, Aaron, while I answer one of my fellow Gorton members, Ramona, who is an amazing lady. And she has a show on her of her own on Gorton, which is the, I believe it's called The Truth Seekers or Truth. So, let's see, Ramona. I'm going to do it. Insert. Be nice if it did. Let's see. Go to Willows. Bend. Oh, so let me type it. Okay, there we go. And post it to her. There we go. Okay. Sorry, she was looking for me. Yeah, Loki is also said to be, he's like a trickster. He's a character. He's in several different kind of storylines and of different, every culture has a Loki basically. So he's kind of like the trickster and plays tricks. He likes to laugh and be goofy. He was representative for those who watched the show Supernatural. He was represented on there also by the same guy who actually went on and came out that he was Archangel Gabriel on the show. But yeah, so kind of like that trickster guy. What did you smoke back in the day, Sandy? I got coupons for Lucky Strikes. Oh, okay. I just saw your comment about smoking something. I was like, what? Yeah, kind of elf-like, kind of, you know, again, a trickster and likes to get into trouble and stir up the pot for trouble. Hi, Gina. The lights are really mild. Yeah, I don't care for light cigarettes. They're too mild for me, too, with like nothing to them. So, if nobody else has any questions in chat regarding what I already presented on Tesla, then I will go ahead and see if he's ready to bring in. Loki's relation with the gods vary by source. Loki sometimes assists the gods and sometimes behaves maliciously towards them. Correct. So he's the mischief maker, the pot stirrer, if you will. Again, he has a different personality amongst all different mythologies and lore. Greek mythologies, he's everywhere basically in different forms. Native American traditions, he could be viewed as how the coyote is seen as a trickster. Same idea. Yeah, like Janice. So it's very, every culture has their own version of Loki, basically. So we good on questions, guys? And then I'll bring them through, and then you can hit him with questions, and I will pass you along his answers to everybody. And if anybody should have any questions, who's listening out there worldwide, I didn't see Gina's videos this morning, but I haven't been on Facebook much either. So if anyone wants to call in with a question for Tesla while I have him in from the other side, then oh, it's snowing there. Well, I guess it's supposed, from what I saw on the map, Aaron, it was starting over on the West Coast, working its way over across the country. So it was snowing hard in Illinois. They got more than what we were getting here. We were supposed to get 3 to 6 inches. So, yeah, he goes by many names, Tammy, in different cultures. So anybody interested in calling in with any questions for Tesla, then by all means feel free to do so. Again, the number is 929-436-2866 in the United States, and the meeting ID number is 522-657-2748. And in Australia, it's 612-801-56011, and same meeting ID number of 522-657-2748. And also I'm on Facebook in my group with the Willows Bend right now, and their chat is what I've been monitoring because it wouldn't open up for me on YouTube. So my apologies to anyone who happens to be there and commenting that I can't see your comments at this time, but you're welcome to come and join my group and be part of my family over there. And I decided kind of that as long as Gorton is allowed to connect to Facebook for the shows to air them, that I would be in my group for the for Willows Bend show, because that's where it started, was in my group. And I've been on doing the show in there for 2 years now, and just came up on here for it. So I'm new to Gorton, but have been doing the show for quite a while now. And then if you don't want to do that, then for the Thursday show for Beyond the Veil, I will monitor the YouTube chat for that. Got the belly for it with cold snow and rain. Yeah, we were supposed to get a starting of a mixture and then have it move over to snow. It started late here compared to what they said it was going to, but it's getting darker out now, so I can't see if it's still snowing out, but it looks like we got a good couple inches so far, maybe 2 to 3. Glad I got all my running around done. Vaguely remember the movie Goonies. Wasn't one of my favorites, but I've seen it, of course. I was a child of the 80s, so of course I saw that, All right, so then let me see if Mr. Tesla's ready to go. The other night he kind of said whatever we chose to call him was fine with him. So let's see. This just helps me make a connection, nothing more. I don't need it, but I don't know, I like it. I like its energy a lot. Okay, so Marianne was just talking to Aaron. So I'm calling out to the soul being who was known as Nikola Tesla. My name is Donna. We spoke the other day regarding you coming through during my show. Are you still available to come through now? If so, let me know when you're on your way. It can take a minute for them to get here to where I meet with them when I do spirit work. Then I have my guides have kind of created a place for me that's upper 4th dimension is where I go to meet them, and they come down from the 5th and 6th dimension to meet me in there. So it's a little bit of a stepping down for them. So I'm stepping up, but not all the way, because that takes a whole lot more energy to do. So again, I'm reaching out to Nikola Tesla. If you could please let me know if you're on your way. He just said, I'm coming. I am not forgotten. Don't start without me. No worries, we won't. And when you see the light of my doorway, just please come in and come up to where I'm standing in the room so I can see and hear you more clearly. And ancestral guardians, again, as always, thank you for what you do and only allow his energy into the space right now. I appreciate that. Thank you. No, I don't have to ask, but I do anyway out of respect. So, yes, right in here. He's having to duck to get through the doorway. Sorry about that. It's interesting that you chose your younger form to appear as. Hi again, and welcome to my show, Willows. So how this is working is I have you on camera, and it's being broadcast out on radio around the world, probably using a lot of your own technology you created back in the day. And there's a platform that allows video chat with people in my group called the Willows Bend. And so I have them in there who are eager to meet with you, and you've already met Chris and Aaron, and they're in there now as well. So I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can read the comments, because I can't read a lot without them, or much at all. So Aaron is saying, hey, and welcome, Mr. Tesla. He's saying good day to you, and hello to everyone else as well who is watching and listening. It is fascinating. I am aware of this technology, and yes, it is utilizing many of my original concepts, and it's fascinating to see it in play now in your world today. Hi, Stacia. Welcome. He said, I'm happy to be here with all of you and to have this opportunity to do this today. And thank you, Ms. Gorton, for bringing me in to talk. And please, I'm just Donna. That's it, just Donna. So Sandy is asking, welcome, Mr. Tesla. Do you plan to come back in another life? He's laughing and he says, I already have. In fact, I have many incarnations at this time, either happening now in different timelines or in the works that are being planned. Things are expansive enough that I can have multiple lifetimes in multiple places happening simultaneously, because time is a very fluid thing here, as many of you know. So it is possible. So yes, I already have been reborn into your timeline, into a different form, but it's still part of me. Hey, Stace. So what I had wanted to ask, so through the research I did on your lifetime while you were here, it was talking about, based off an interview you were giving, and regarding your belief on spiritualism, I guess, as a whole, and what you felt would happen to the soul when you died, that your soul died with you. He's laughing at me. Sandy's saying thank you. He said, yes, well, I didn't have the full knowledge that I have now. Aaron's asking, has your view on spirituality changed? He said, oh, yes, of course, because now I remember everything in which I'd forgotten before. So I have the full memory that I did not retain in that form during that lifetime. I didn't remember all that there is to remember. Yes, because I found it interesting that you had talked about how you would get flashbacks of past lives when you were here, and kind of that dichotomy between your getting flashbacks and belief in reincarnation, and yet you felt that the soul would die with the body. How could you have that exist at the same time in that thinking I mean, I understand you understand more now, obviously, and how it works now, but how did you reconcile the two when you were here? Because if the soul died after each lifetime ended, where would you get flashbacks of that life, from a past life experience if your soul died when your body dies? You are correct. I did not have a full understanding of how things worked, and I didn't fully understand where those rememberings came from. I only knew and felt in my heart that they were from a different lifetime, which they were, but I didn't make the connection in association to my soul self. Now, of course, I have a full understanding of how it works, of which you know much of what we know and understand here. Not all, of course, but you have the fundamental understanding and concepts behind it with reincarnation and so forth. But I did not make that full connection whilst I was in that lifetime. Um, okay, so you basically didn't know, but you knew you got those rememberings. Now, it also talked in the research I did, because yes, there's quite a lot written about you out there online, on the internet. And am I, first of all, correct in saying that the wireless stuff you were working on back in your research, with your inventions? Let me find it again. Like with the wireless power transfer and the world wireless system, were those the kind of the precursors to what we have as cell phone technology today? He's clapping and laughing and he says, oh my, yes, yes, that's what I envisioned, was a new way to communicate with everyone globally, because back then when I was there, the internet did not exist. Yet I envisioned something better than simple pen pals where you could write, but it would take a full month to get a letter from around the world. If you had a friend somewhere else, you'd have to wait. And that could be extremely frustrating. And so, unless that person had a telephone to call on, that would be the only way to connect. So, yes, ultimately, I envisioned something, a new form of communication, but I was missing a piece of the puzzle that put it together that would allow it to fully work. And then funding ran out for that line of research, so I had to kind of set it aside. Aaron says, Nicola, what interests me is that you worked a lot with energy and electricity, the knowing that energy doesn't die, just changing form. How did you come to the conclusion that energy makes your body work, just dies? Okay, so I think what he's asking is, knowing what you knew about electricity and the functioning of the body, where did you come up with the conclusion that your body just dies and your soul with it? And that, you didn't change forms or other. How did you reach that conclusion? Well, in part, it was based on my personal beliefs that I was raised with initially in life, in my early years. Um, yes, there was some thoughts of an afterlife. However, I couldn't reconcile one part from the living life to the being alive on the other side. There was a piece missing in understanding for me, and hence me arriving at the thoughts that once the body stops producing electricity and so forth, which prompted the soul to function, I thought that it died with the body and that it didn't continue on. I didn't have the full understanding. Despite religious teachings and writings, it didn't ever resonate with me as being valid and true. Yet here I am on the other side, coming through to talk to you all now. And it's nice to have an interested parties to listen to me again with regards to these things. And thank you for your interest, by the way. But it was a lack of that bridge, if you will, between what happens when you die and the physical world. I was a little too attached to the physical world and was missing that puzzle piece that it did continue on, and that's how I could remember my past lives. Annette asks, what are your thoughts on technology within the world today? Overall, I find it quite wonderful and amazing in that being able to communicate with anyone, anywhere, at any time, in real time, is ultimately what I got visions of back then, was that wall dropping in communication, and how important communication was to connecting different people and not being limited by that. And here you are today, bringing me through as a soul being, yet it's broadcasting around the world on the radio for those to listen to. There are videos of it being recorded and posted everywhere. And that is a fascinating concept to me. And it's a happy turn of events. However, I think it is missing the human component. The longer these things are in existence for you, the more you are coming to rely upon that connection for entertainment purposes, for learning, but also almost an addiction to your devices that bring that connectivity through. And in doing so, society is losing skills that are necessary for basic communication. For that still needs to be maintained. Being able to talk one on one with someone, looking them in the eye in face to face conversation. It seems as though many of you have turned your back away from that and are more comfortable living behind your device and through your device than not. So in that way, there is a bit of sadness associated with it, for I never wanted to see that occur. And yet here it is, a very real thing. Aaron says that the energy that makes your body work just dies. He said, well, ultimately it does. The electricity that your brain and everything generates, that does stop existing and functioning, hence having the body ultimately die. But I also thought that the soul went with it. Without the electricity to power it, I didn't understand it continued onward. And yet here I am, able to come through and talk to all of you fine people today through means of a continuation of that energy, which I didn't have even the beginning of understanding of whilst I was there. Erin also says, Nicola, the wireless energy that you were working on, was it similar to the world energy grid that was created by other beings through the pyramids and ley lines around the globe? The world energy grid in and of itself is not reliant upon structures created by other beings. The earth itself has natural electrical lines that run through it and connect everything. And I can see through her mind that she has talked about this topic before to you all. Those things simply function to harness that energy to direct it into a certain way. So, for example, the pyramids could be ultimately utilized as a means to direct energy upward between the ground and other beings' ships in order to transport them from their ship level to the ground. It could also be used to send that energy from those higher beings outward from the sides of the pyramid. Plans for all of that still reside within the pyramid, hidden within walls and so forth. In case you hadn't noticed from your learnings about the pyramids, the Egyptians were very tricksy builders in that they created all these open passageways and false doorways and so forth. And so why would they create these building length structures of open chutes, if you will, if not for something to pass through them? Marianne says, I knew our soul continued. There is energy and we moved on and left our shell behind. Oh, quite correct, fine lady. It does. That is the process. Now I understand that. But when I was in human form, in the form of Nikola Tesla, I did not comprehend that. That always remained kind of an elusive idea to me. So, excuse me, is you mentioned before that you already had been had a new incarnation in our timeline of things. Are they aware of who you were last when they were here? No, I do not believe so, for they are still just a child, and they are not in that their lifetime they're going to be having now, whilst going on to do great things, will not be in the same realm that I delved into when I was there as Nicola. I was interested in how things worked and the capabilities of electricity and the transfer of energy. As a child, that is not what interests them. Their work will be much more hands on with people versus what I did, where I preferred the solitude of working alone more than not. And that says there is definitely less in-person communication today. I feel sad that kids don't experience the close family get-togethers that we had when growing up. He said, exactly. People are forgetting how to look each other in the eye when they talk. They are forgetting how to have civil conversations or intelligent debates amongst one another in lieu of texting and cell phone service and online communications with each other. While it's amazingly brilliant that communication can be linked globally and allow you the chance to know people you otherwise would never meet, if it wasn't for that platform, there should not be quite the addiction to that you forget about living life as it exists around you. Aaron asks, what was the true beef between you and Edison? When I first looked at that, I thought that said leaf. He said, oh, it wasn't a beef, if you will. It was more of, I mean, I respected the man and the work he was doing, and he was absolutely brilliant. However, I liked things a certain way when I was there, and he was much more unkempt than I was in all he did, and that was unappealing to me when I was in the form of Nikola Tesla. I understand now that is the least important factor to be concerned with. However, at the time, I was very concerned with personal appearance and how you looked when you went out in public and got seen by others, and it had to be, sorry, I'm just adjusting my little space heater here because the draft is getting me and it's quite cold. I'm sure it's going to start up. Oh, not that hot. Goodness, Donna. There we go. Sorry, everyone. It's winter time in upstate New York, and my home is very drafty in my apartment, and there's a lot of big windows and stuff, so the floors get quite drafty and cold legs and feet. So he's saying, as far as Edison goes, I respected him as a man and of how his mind worked, in some ways similar to mine. However, I just found him unpleasant to be around, and how unkempt he was. It offended me on that level. I suppose you could say I was rather shallow in that way, but it mattered to me when I had that life. But there were lessons behind it for me that I needed to learn, which by the end of my life I did come to understand better. But when I was younger, I was a bit nitpicky. Karen says, thankful for today's communication. Only face-to-face I get from my friends on the East Coast is via FaceTime. No, I do agree that the video chatting that happens in your world today is, I would say, the next best thing to face-to-face encounters with each other, face-to-face communications with one another. However, I also obviously understand that, again, the internet is providing you with the means of meeting people in any place around the world that you would not otherwise have were it not for that platform to connect to each other. And for that reason, yes, I think it is an amazing progression in human evolution to be able to communicate with anyone anywhere. And yes, FaceTime is the next best thing, as you call it. However, in person is best. I still reside within that. She said, who had bigger hands, you or Edison? He's laughing and he's saying, ha ha ha, I know where you're going with that. He said, definitely me. Sandy asked, does he believe that women over the years since he passed have changed for the better? Hi, Kim. Welcome, honey. He said, oh, yes, I always had issues with. I fully resided in understanding that it was okay for women to have equal rights and that they should have their own voice. However, to retain their feminine energy, I thought, and well, still to a degree do, feel that it is valid and important for a woman to own that about herself and to leave certain things to men to have be tasked with. Your bodies are made completely differently. Yes, the energies don't know any gender one way or the other with regards to being stuck into one form. However, there are physical differences within the body to be taken into account for. But you would see those women, even back in my day, who were lifting weights and becoming almost grotesque looking in their physical forms, trying to outdo their male counterparts. That's more of what I had an issue with. If you're going to be a woman, well, be a woman and reside within the sacredness of your feminine energy and leave things that were better designed towards how a man's body was built to handle. Leave that stuff to them. And not that a woman by any means should be limited by caring for the home and family, although you do it remarkably well. But at the same time, I don't think that certain things women should hide their femininity to keep up with a man or push men out of the way in terms of we are better than you, for there isn't any better than you one way or the other. One gender is not better than the other. I certainly know that now better than ever before. However, there still remains this competition among some, not all, but some, to where it is, by their own reckoning, an individual's vibrational alignment with things and how they perceive things, of feeling not good enough in the form they're in or not accepted enough in as they are, so they go on to work to break down walls and barriers they perceive are there but may not actually be there. So whilst I'm happy to see there is more equality between men and women overall as a whole, there is still work to be done. It's not quite equal yet by far worldwide. I just loved women the way they were and being feminine, and found them quite amazingly wonderful in that form without trying to outdo a man. Um, Karen says she has a best friend in Australia now, and it's lovely. Oh yes, I have. I mean, I'm connected to people globally now that there is no other way that I would have been if it wasn't for the internet. And I still am blown away when I'm able to connect to somebody on the other side of the world in real time. It just astounds me. Karen says she lifts. Sandy says, I lift too, my coffee cup and my fork. He's laughing. Stacy says, can you ask Tesla if he spoke to Edison since they had their fallout? We have made amends here, though we are not best friends by far. There is a, shall we say, a mutual respect of one another here. because now we are in our true forms and we can understand that it was much greater than who made what, when, and how, and that competition that existed between us and how we conducted ourselves. We've outgrown that here and we've made those amends here. But do we spend time together doing things? I would say no overall, but we do occasionally still see one another. Karen says she could lift you in your Tesla form. No, that was funny, Karen. Or Sandy, absolutely. Karen says, I love when people look at me when I'm carrying heavy stuff. I'm a strong mini human. Absolutely. Aaron says, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tesla and Edison were the Bill Gates and Steve Jobs of their day. Basically, yes. I'm aware of who they are. Yes, there was a competition that existed between us and different viewpoints on different things. But we now respect those differences and have moved on and do not retain or hang on to any of those ill feelings here because it does not belong here. Stacy asked, does Tesla know who burned down his lab? People who were employed by the government, who would work for them for hire, they did it in such a way to make it seem unknown who it came from or where it came from, but they made sure it was emptied before they burned it down. They knew I had no interest in funding wartime games or worldwide weapons, and that was one way too where Edison and I disagreed. I had no interest in such things, so I would never agree to work with them. I was approached more than once in my lifetime, but would always turn them down. So in the end, they got their way by having my work. I do not retain any anger or ill will towards them. I understand now what their motivation is. And it's not like I need that work here on this side of things. So it is of no real importance to me anymore with that. Men in Black, kind of like what he's showing me is like kind of like mercenaries for hire. We're kind of involved in doing it. Aaron says the government is known to be or to do many horrible things. Karen says too many. And that said, has government always been shady? This is not meant as a political debate. Well, sure, each government of the world has their own agenda of what they want to see accomplished. And I'm sure many of you are aware things are shifting and changing now, hopefully for the better, but it is still up to people to make those choices along the way to raise up out of their old ways of thinking in order to reconstruct a new reality. Aaron asked, Tesla, did you ever create a transporter type device or teleporter? I was not able to create it, but I had an idea for something similar to that. But it was not envisioning it with people, it was more with energy transference. Ooh, let's sing that pet. Those, what are they? I just forgot the brand. Ricola cough drops. That's right, honey lemon ones. That peppermint or whatever oils in them. Oh, dang. Trying to think of where I can set it on where it won't make a mess. Napkin or something. Here we go. That'll work. Sorry, everyone, it's getting a little strong. Don't want to be sticky. Yeah, Ricola. A little bit too minty. No, I don't like them either, and they didn't have any of the ones that, what are they? Those cherry ones that we like. They were out of everything there as far as throat drops go, and I didn't need like menthol anything. I don't want that. I don't like it. I like just the throat drops that are like honey and lemon, nice and quiet. I don't need mint with my honey and lemon. I don't need menthol of any kind. I don't, I have an allergy medicine I can take. I don't need to suck on something that's going to achieve that. It gives them a funky taste. I don't like them. Yes, Ludens. He said, I am thankful I do not have to worry about those things now. Karen is saying, let me see more. My coworkers are taking it easy on me today. First day back to work. I've had hardly any work. I feel loved. Yeah, are you feeling any better though, Karen? Like those litter boxes now, high tech, I think they're transporters. Where do you think it's transporting it to? Yeah, I know. I ran out, Sandy, of the Ludens, and they didn't have any when I was shopping, unfortunately, and most sadly. So I've been putting Vicks on my face mask for breathing. Yeah, Vicks is fine under your nose, but I don't want to suck on Vicks, and I don't care for if I have a sore tonsil. I don't want, or my vocal cords are a little strained. I don't want mint in there or menthol. And I always, because my sinuses and stuff, if I get a sore throat, it's my left tonsil always. That'll swell up and get whatever weird. I'm stuck at 90% better. My confusion and atomic headaches are still going strong. I have heard that about the COVID virus, that there is a lot of lingering like after effects from it. And that you don't, when you start feeling better, you still deal with a lot of aftermath of it. It takes forever to, kind of like when you get the flu and you have your stamina and all that, takes forever, your energy to come back. Aaron's asking if you were an animal person at all. No, I didn't mind them, but at the same time, I did not want to have to be responsible for keeping up with caring for them, because more times than not, I resided in places where animals were not allowed, like hotels. And I did not have a predictable schedule. So being available at certain times of day to take an animal for a walk or to feed them at certain intervals, that was not anything I was available to do. So having an animal didn't make sense to do so, because I couldn't care for them the way they should. So no, I did not have animals. But did I mind them? No. They were very pleasant creatures out there, and I enjoyed them, but did not want to be responsible for them in my life. At least I haven't put bubbles in my coffee lately. That's a good thing, I guess. I'm accepting this will last months. I've been speaking to others of the same shit. She's had the headache since August. Oh, that would be awful. Have one last that long. Yeah, that's, I think, where it differs from the flu in a lot of ways, is those types of side effects are sticking with people, or other weird symptoms like GI tract stuff and whatever. So, yeah, not a pleasant thing. He's saying this too shall pass. It will wind down on its own. Did it a couple of times instead of creamer. Confusion is legit bad. But what did you mean by putting bubbles in your coffee? With what kind of bubbles, though? Like soap, or blowing bubbles, or how did you obtain bubbles within your coffee? I guess you want to know. He's laughing at you. He said, "Please understand, I don't mean to be rude. I'm not laughing at the fact of how sick you were, and I am glad that you are on the mend with that. But I find your energy rather light and amusing, and I enjoy that." You have the right idea of things, like bubbles, bubbles, blowing bubbles. The doctor gave me bubbles to work. Oh, okay. What are your thoughts, says Aaron, on today's personal computers and the technology of them, the speeds of the CPUs, ROM, SSDs, graphic cards? Can you answer how close to VR this life? Well, doesn't the VR already exist in this life? What you have available in the public is what how truly advanced those things are behind the curtain, if you will. I could see the practical application for that technology back in my day with the things I did, but at the same time, I relished in the fact that I could complete those computations and so forth on my own without the use of a machine to help me. Although a calculator could have come in handy at times, but again, creating a reliance on a device to do work for you has its pros and cons. So there are good parts to it in that it helps you achieve it faster than what many people can do it, and allows those who are not good at it to be able to accomplish it. However, there becomes an interreliance where people forget how to do it themselves. And so in that way, I don't think that they're necessarily a good thing. No, I mean, how close is this life in compared to VR? He said, "I don't quite understand your question. Do you mean how close is life to having virtual reality created, or how close is life in general to a VR life? Please clarify for me." I think he isn't comparing virtual reality with our lives, but I am not sure, and I want to be clear before I give him an answer. For if I'm not mistaken, virtual reality comes in many forms within, you call them video games, etc. But there are many applications for it. Uh, and it says, "If it makes you feel any better, I do loopy stuff all the time, like putting fresh brewed pot of coffee in the fridge and liquid creamer in the cupboard." Oh, yep, that stuff can happen. Aaron says, "To me, my thoughts is that my higher self is wearing the VR set and I'm in the game. Me being the physical self." Well, that is an interesting way to view things, I suppose, but it is not the same for you are a physical when you are in physical form. It is not a video game of sorts. It is a reality that is created by all physical form beings through their mutual energy and put into the collective. So, in the experiences that you have, yes, they are designed on this side of what you're going to manifest in each life based on the things you need to experience and learn to grow from. But it is not a false reality in that way, in that it is a created lifetime, yes. However, it's a created lifetime within the reality that humans exist in the 3D reality of things. So in that way, it is not a game that one is playing by living out a lifetime. Okay, Karen, it is genuine experiences gained for the purpose of growing oneself as a soul being that you have each lifetime that you choose to live. So in that way, it is not a false reality as much as a designed reality for distinctive purposes, but it is very real in the sense that you are in physical form. These things are happening just in a different place than where, say, I reside now. Does this answer make sense? I know, I perceive where you're going with your line of thinking. However, I think you are viewing it slightly wrong in that this is not the life you are living is not a false reality in the same sense that a virtual reality is. There is validity in each life that is lived, no matter the form you choose to live it in. There is still value to be gained from each experience. Whereas much video game applications of virtual reality really serve no purpose for any higher anything, growth or otherwise. They are merely entertainment. Nor are the graphics and so forth at such a level to the public where it would be literally simulating your environment to the degree you would feel as if you were in it. Now, that is not to say that behind the curtains of the world governments, they've not achieved that level of reality through their use of technology and experimentation, but it will not be made to be realistic or made readily available to the public in really any lifetime. It's not meant to be. It's meant for their use only. He's laughing and he said, yes, I know you reside in a place of being a gamer, but there is more to life than just games. And it is not, it is a false reality in that setting. So while mildly distracting at best, it is still very, very different from the real world. You're able to take on whatever existence you choose or be and have abilities that you cannot have in this life. And so there is a sense of escapism in there that reside within video games. However, it is not, it takes you away from facing and dealing with the realities surrounding you that you chose to be born into to learn from. So you are escaping from learning what you're there to learn. Hence, it is taking you away from what was meant to happen in that way. Hey, Ramona, finally found us, I see. Yeah, as long as they can get into Facebook from, Gorton, then it'll be put into my group or my page. So, and I wasn't finding the feed up on YouTube when I last checked in. It wasn't running up there, so it wasn't working. But it isn't here, so that's a blessing. So I don't know what's happening on YouTube, and I ask for forgiveness for anybody watching and who happens to be commenting in there that I'm not able to see your comments on YouTube because I can only be tuned into one place or the other, Facebook or YouTube. So because I did try the YouTube chat, it would not come up in the live feed. Ow, sorry. Aaron says, KK, another question. When you needed to take a break and get away from things, what was your favorite thing to do? I would say I enjoyed walks in a natural environment, like a park, or going out to eat with friends in restaurants, etc., or colleagues to take a break. But I enjoyed my work, so it wasn't from a sense of needing a break per se, as much as knowing I needed to balance experiencing both things and to not let my work consume me to such a degree that nothing else seemed to exist around me. So I would make myself take breaks for meals and so forth. But my evenings were more likely to be spent lost in a book and learning, furthering my learning rather than going to shows or doing anything else for entertainment that I could have done, or parties that wasn't what I was interested in. And I was never comfortable in those situations. I pretty much stuck to myself and did my own thing. Ramona asked, I've always wanted to ask him if the government was involved in his death. Not in the sense you are thinking, for I did live to be an old age, which was meant to be. They were involved in taking my work after my death. However, in causing my death, no, I did die when I was designed to come back home. I did. However, everything else surrounding my work that was lost to the public and so forth, yes, they had people come in to take possession of it and then destroy the aftermath of their presence. I lived a good long life, and 87 seemed a good time to come back home when I did. I have no regrets regarding that, for I was at that point an old man and I didn't see quite as well as I used to, nor hear quite as well as I used to. And sometimes I would find my faculties slipping in small ways that made me very uncomfortable. I needed to have control of things in that way in that lifetime, for that brought me comfort. And to not have that available to me at all in the same capacity as I did in my youth bothered me. So I was meant to die when I did, to cross over. Hey, sis, Miss Amanda is in the house. I have no regrets regarding my life or my achievements. I only wish that what I had hoped for, as far as having a global energy system available to all at no cost, could have been made a reality. But if it had been meant to be so, it would have been so, and it was not meant to be so. So hence, I can hold no regret towards that. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. And there are other things I wished I could have accomplished. However, again, that which was supposed to be was. And looking back at the life I lived, I did accomplish much in that lifetime, so it was certainly not a waste in any way, and I was very careful not to waste the gift I was given. Oh, and I was going to ask, if you don't mind, so the research I did talked about your process, that you used to get afflicted with blinding flashes of light across your vision, and that then you would get visions pertaining to things you were working on, or words or explanations and stuff. Where did that come from? Do you understand that part of it now, of where that came from, of whether there was, because it kind of sounds like it was downloads to you that was given, and I don't know if the blinding light was ever followed by, like what we call migraine headaches today, but no, there were higher beings guiding me, unbeknownst to me and my understanding in that lifetime. And those are the ones who would give me that knowledge to help further humanity. For that was part of uh, my goal in coming there in that life, was to achieve pushing humanity that much further in evolution, to reach further, much like my colleague Einstein and others. There were those of us who were given that mission to help accomplish that and bring it forward. So we were more like open channels in that way of receiving information, though we may not have understood the how or why it happened back then, but nonetheless, it certainly did. Um, Aaron says, I thought that Einstein was autistic due to his genius mind and uncomfortableness within the public. Were you somewhat the same? Dyslexic, no. For I actually had a photographic memory while I was there. I could remember with perfect clarity anything that which I read. Any book, I could recite the text back. So in that way, almost a savant-like intelligence. However, the discomfort was more of my own choosing of being separated from society as a whole due to the curiosity I felt. Society, I felt, had not much to offer me, whereas my work was of constant interest. There was always more to seek, more to learn, more to do, more to accomplish, more to create. Those were never ending streams of thoughts I had. So it seemed as if the day to day, daily, I won't say minuscule, for I mean no disrespect for those who are interested in those things, but society standing of rubbing elbows, if you will, with those who were famous in different ways or for different things, that held no interest for me. So hence I was uncomfortable with it because I did not resonate with them energetically, thought process wise. My mind was always going back to my work, not trivial things like the certain color of a certain gown that I was going to wear, or the abundance of money that would be spent on one item that was ridiculously expensive. Yet that seemed to be the overwhelming concern for many who surrounded me, and I chose not to be a part of that. He said that it was higher beings. So Ramona's asking, was it extraterrestrial higher beings? Some, yes. A couple of different groups would give me information. The Syrians and the Pleiadians being the main ones. I did not know it at the time that was where it came from, but on this side of the veil, I do know where that clearly. And I've been in communication with them since arriving back here again. And I'm aware of their consciousness in this form of me being in an energetic form now. We can openly communicate now. But there were other higher beings as well that gave me different information through, I guess it was kind of the equivalent of a download. I guess that's a good word for it based on the computer world in which you operate today. It very much was like I was a hard drive of a computer receiving the information, and the blinding lights I used to see that would overtake my vision quite uncomfortably at the time was its way of opening the gate to allow that to pass through to me. And it never ceased to amaze me when I would experience that. I never took the time much to focus on who was giving it to me or where it came from, only that it did. And then I would get so excited in the moment that I would run off to put it into practice or fix the missing piece or the idea I got to build something. I would immediately start to work on putting it into reality to become that. Again, it would be with perfect clarity. I could see a device that was already built or what was needed for it, a supply list, if you will, and had those whose financial support I had through my work and in support of my work, they would fund it, and then I could build it. So yes, it did come from higher beings of different kinds. But yes, mainly the Pleiadians, the Syrians, and just higher soul beings who sought to assist me and give me the knowledge that would help complete the mission I was there to complete of helping evolve humanity further. Ramona also asked, did you ever meet Houdini, and did he ever contact his wife before she died? Sadly, no, he was never, I knew of him, We did not reside in the same circles, but I was aware of his search. And no, from what I understood while he was there, while we were both in that timeline, that he never was successful in finding someone who was truly gifted to make contact with his wife. And yet they are firmly connected here. I have met him here and engaged in conversation with them, but no, it was never achieved in his lifetimes. Too much to his dismay. It caused him much turmoil. Hi, James. And just scrolling through the comments to make sure I haven't missed a question or comment here. So if you had the awareness of who was giving you the information you were getting in the form of downloads, would that have changed your view on the soul and the spiritual self, that it did not die with the body as you supposed while you were here? Because that, like, again, that just surprises me in that you you did say you got flashbacks of past lives, yet how could you, if you believe that the soul died with the body? Then what would there be to pass on that information to you? With regards to the past lives, I felt like it was coming from whatever the place was where I was seeing the visions from. That was what was giving me those flashbacks, if you will. I did not understand that the soul has no beginning and end. Before, I had worded it once that it was the universe that had no beginning and end. And whilst that is true, but the soul self as well, in the sense that, yes, there are different aged souls based on the journeys they're on and what developmental stages they're in on their own journeys. However, it is not as I supposed it to be. And I fully admit that I was way off base whilst in that lifetime of my understanding of such things. For it was never topics that I spent that much time learning or gaining wisdom on. For my interests always lay in designing new things, creating new inventions, making things work, figuring out how things worked, but not with respects to the spiritual aspects of life. So I just kind of more dismissed it by setting that as my intention, that there was nothing else, because it was too big for me to fully accept and process in that life. So it was easier to just not process it and disconnect from the ideals of it. And by shutting it down, then there was no concern of it. But I was fully aware of the visions I would get, of course, with the information I obtained from them, that it had to come from somewhere. But I didn't think the two were connected. Makes sense. So you had mentioned that you are living many different lifetimes currently in different timelines. Are you able to tell us how many approximate lifetimes you're existing in right now? Approximately 629 different lifetimes in different forms in different places in different timelines. There is only currently one in existence as a human. The rest are, shall we say, elsewhere. Each brings a new, unique understanding with it of each lifetime I'm living. And the soul can do that, which I didn't understand while I was there. Aaron says, I love the fact that you spent so much time here in the life we are talking about now, and that you continue to surround yourself in your work on the other side. That's amazing. Oh, I thoroughly enjoy having recreated my lab here, even though I do understand that it is not that which is most important, of course. But it is a nice way to divide my time when I feel like tinkering around with different things. Except now there is no limit to that which I can create. I can create a whole new world if I chose to. I have not yet, but I know I could if I wanted that. But no, I basically have expanded beyond what research I used to do whilst in that lifetime, and just experiment and tinker. That brings me happiness and joy in the order of it. I still remember that from that lifetime, but I am not quite so controlling about it as I once was. There is no way that I could be, with being back here with my full understanding of things, that I could stay in such a place as that here. It doesn't work here, nor is there room for it here. We don't reside in that having to have that kind of a control over things. It's not about that. Aaron's asking what dimensions do you reside in? Mainly I spend my time between the fifth and sixth dimensions, although there are still times I come back to the third dimension to observe. I am fascinated by the current goings on within the world and how things are starting to change there in people's understanding of things and their personal growth, what you call your awakenings. That is a good analogy for it. And there has been much of that going on now, and so that has been exciting to watch and see that happen. Each time it does, it's like the person's personal light bulb glows a little brighter than it did before. It's a lovely thing to watch happen and have them reach that understanding that there is more, and to fully accept it, that aha moment that they have. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. She's asking, are you aware, sorry, Annette is asking, are you aware of the movie based on you called Tinker? I know that there were many movies that have been made about me or with me in them since I was there, but I have not personally seen it. Movie making in general was more in its infant days then, and we're not anywhere near as evolved as they are now. I find movie theaters to be way too loud and distracting because of too much going on, and humans need so much more stimulation than what they needed before. With where films were back in my day, they had a simplistic quality to them back when I was in that lifetime, whereas now there has to be a constant stream of activity surrounding most humans in the form of, whether it's through entertainment purposes, whether it is through incoming information, but most of it is not growing you as an individual. If anything, it kind of lowers your vibration and takes you out of the space that you should be in. So I'm aware, but I have not seen it. Welcome, Ed. The upstairs dog's barking. He said they are noisy, aren't they? They are, they can be. He said that is one thing I do miss about the lifetime I left there, was the slightly slower pace of the world then. I understand its evolution and the direction it has reached out to since I was there, but at the same time, people took more time on things in general in my lifetime, took more care in what they did and to accomplish. because it was more hands-on. So there was more focus put on those things. It was in some senses, an easier way of life, of existence than now. However, nothing ever stays the same, and things do continually moving forward and changing and evolving. So there is no way it could stay in that place well after I left that existence. The world has changed much since that time, even, but not in all bad ways, just different. But as it was meant to, based on choices you all make in your everyday lives, that has created that which surrounds you now. And there is a shifting going on, as I said, and as many of you are aware of, that is exciting to watch, and it's going to be exciting to see, can humanity reach the next level? That's what we're watching here. Sorry, I was taking a allergy pill there. Ramona said, since he left here in poverty, is in flourishing in his other life. Are you asking, is there poverty flourishing in his other life that he has, or lives that he has elsewhere now? Is that what you're asking, Amanda? If you could just, Ramona, if you could clarify. Annette says, well, the actor Clayne Crawford is not nearly as good looking as you were. He said, if I could still blush, madam, I would. Thank you. I have not, again, seen that movie. However, I am aware of it, that there were many films made about me, or suppositions that were taken about the life I lived at that time. Or is he living in better status? Well, here, there is no poverty. There is no money systems that we operate on, for it doesn't reside in this realm. In the next lifetime I'm having as a human in your timeline, she is in poverty in that life. However, she will rise above and out of that and beyond it. Eventually she will get there, but there are certain lessons to be gained from living in poverty as well, and appreciation for things that those who have plenty is not taught for them to appreciate. And there becomes almost an entitlement to those who have wealth. So in poverty, there comes appreciation for things that doesn't exist in the other way. Here, those things aren't needed, nor are they a part of our existence here. There are other systems, other dimensions and realms I reside in different lifetimes, where, whilst not designed the same way as what you have there on Earth, as far as monetary systems of gain, where some have more than others, yes, that has always been the way of it. And it's just how much focus is put on those differences. And in some cultures, there's a sharing that makes everyone equal. And it's much more done on barter system or an exchange of services of whatever kind to have people's needs be met. And sometimes it's simply everyone has the same regardless what you're putting in exchange for it. So again, it's different no matter which lifetime I check in with of what is occurring. But yes, in many ways, poverty did expand on Earth as well since I left there in many areas. And it is with a sadness that it is not handled or addressed. However, it is meant, again, to play out the way things are playing out for those individuals who live and grow in poverty. I much prefer it here, where money is not an object, nor does it have an existence here. Karen says, if you want to come over later, I'm always up to doing energy balls with energy. Doing energy balls alone is boring. It is. It can be. He's laughing and says, I don't think that the energy balls with which I'm capable of creating would fit into your living space, Karen. You just like playing with balls. Ramona says, it seems his life here was so lonely in absence of love. Does he regret it at all, or was there a real reason he never married? Was he gay? I did look for that, Ramona, when I was doing my research, and it had said that let me find it in the research here. He chose to, here it is. He chose to remain celibate essentially because his work took up so much of his time and energy that that was where his focus lay. Later in life, he felt like he may have given him too much to his work, but that he thought it would be too distracting to be with somebody back in the day when he was younger. He was kind of asexual. He was in love with the pigeon because they didn't put the demands on my time the way people did. And there was a piece that you missed before you came in from the research that talked about how he had always felt women were superior in a way, um, but that he didn't never married and remained celibate, feeling it was hugely helpful to his scientific abilities. But his view on women later changed as he felt in his later years women were trying to outdo men or losing their femininity by trying to be in power. In an interview with the Galveston Daily News in 1924, he said, in place of the soft voiced gentlewoman of my reverent worship has come the woman who thinks her chief success in life lies in making herself as much as possible like a man in dress, voice, actions, and sports achievements of every kind. The tendency of women is to push aside man, supplanting the old spiritual spirit of cooperation with him in all affairs of life. It's very disappointing to me. So he really felt like, he wasn't happy with where women's rights were going with overproving themselves. Karen says, I'm asexual, sex meh. I'm a trisexual. I'll try anything once in a while. I can. I'll go more times. He's shaking his head at you, Aaron. Um, he said, I do regret on one level not having married and had children and did the family situation. But at the same time, I never was really lonely for my work took up all of my time. There was always one more new idea to try out or one new vision that came to me of what I wanted to build next, things I wanted to be involved with. There always seemed to be a shortage of time during my day to accomplish this, and I recognized that that wasn't a conducive environment with which to have a marriage and family, for one really does need to be present for those things. But would it have been nice and pleasant to enjoy those things in that life? Yes, I should have made time for them, but at the same time it worked out the way it was supposed to as planned to. Aaron's always being naughty. Yes, he is a perv. Well, you're not alone, Katie. You fit right in with my crew. So, yeah, he does regret it, but not. I mean, there's very much a vibe from him of like it wasn't that big of a thing because of it. My work was so fascinating and so interesting. He gets very animated when talking about it with his hand motions, and he gets kind of excited with his vibration rises when he's discussing his work in general. It still brings him excitement to the discoveries he would happen upon and further ideals he had that he wanted to accomplish and do. And there just never was enough time. And he was always running behind on everything, that feeling of that, I'm running out of time today to work. And so push a little bit harder, push a little bit further. But there were quiet moments where he regretted not having a family. But overall, there was just so much more to do and so much more to accomplish that there was never enough time. Yes, exactly, Karen. Big hands are flying. He gets very animated when he's discussing his work and his love. That was his. He was married to his work. Ramona asks, "Who was your greatest adversary?" Ah, that one is easy, dear lady. It was myself, because I was always constantly pushing to become better, to become more efficient, to become more, to do more, to achieve more, to create more, and never, I guess, took the time to resonate with all that I had already accomplished. So there was never time to slow down the race, so to speak, with which to appreciate where I had come from. It was always pushing forward, and I would say between myself and time, the way it is counted in your dimension, that was always against me, and it cut me short, and it made me never finish what I was working on, or interrupt that was a silly need for sleep. I did actually come to resent that when my body would kind of give out. It was not uncommon for me to go 2 or 3 days at a time with because of the excitement I felt about the most recent project or experimentation I was involved in creating. That kept me going and that fueled me. So I was kind of my own undoing with that, of not taking as good of care of myself, but also not stopping to appreciate in the now moment that which I had achieved and already had come full circle to create. Brenda asks, what is the difference if he was gay or not? Just love the person you know. He said, oh no, I did love women, absolutely. It was what women went on to become in their fight for equality. Some took it too far. Thank you, Tom. And thank you for watching. He said some women took it too far in trying to uh, overdo it, overachieve, and surpass men and pushing them aside rather than understanding it should be a joint effort. That is what I did not abide by when I was there. It wasn't that I was gay or not. It was just that my work was more important. It gave me more satisfaction than I felt that a relationship could give. And I felt that it would be unfair were I to have been with somebody but not fully be there with them, as I would be constantly pulled back by my work. It's like a dose of Ritalin, a dose or of Ritalin, I guess. My mind was always working, and I did require very little sleep. In fact, I didn't average sleeping more than 2 hours per night because I would be pulled back into the cycle of more work, of more focus, of more uh, the next experiment, the next project, the next vision I had of what was there in my head that I wanted to build, but had how to bring it into the reality of the world and what I could do with it, what I could achieve with it, where I could go with it. That was always that connectivity to my work. So, no, there was no room in there for any relationships with that. Aaron says, the work gives you a high. I know this like my work on my computer. Yes, he says that there definitely was. Sandy says, did he have a love interest at one time, though he didn't, or didn't he? Did you at one time have a love interest of someone you cared for but didn't necessarily pursue? Oh, there were many women who I admired and respected and loved the softness that femininity brought in general, just their energy there and of understanding that they were truly works of art, and each one of them could be and were marvelous in their abilities to handle multiple things at once and to never have a hair out of place, or they were superior in that way. And yes, there was more than one that I could have potentially seen go in a certain direction romantically. However, I also knew that I couldn't give them what they may have wanted from me on that level due to my work. Again, I chose to be married to my work. And yes, was some regret with that towards the end of my days and recognizing I could have balanced that better. But at the same time, it was a hell of a ride, wasn't it? That it was. Hey, Natalie. Yep, we've been talking to Nikola Tesla and dealing with like the of laying a foundation of his life and personal details, etc. And then now we're talking to him. So if you happen to have a question for him, he is with me and happy to talk. Ramona asks, upon the moment of death, what was the one thing that you realized that you had wrong? Oh, definitely this side of things. Absolutely. And thinking that upon death, the spirit or soul just stops existing, because at the very moment of death, of transitioning, I saw my loved ones waiting for me and calling out to me. And it was as real as anything else I'd experienced in that life. And how could that happen or be there if I ceased existing in any form upon death? Then how could they exist in another place waiting for me? So it was making that connection finally that I missed during lifetime, that there wasn't an end and that things would continue on. Whilst I hadn't at that point transitioned back here to rejoin with my soul self and regain all that knowledge and so forth that I'd forgotten before coming into that life, somewhat it was there, that sensing that there was a whole nother place in existence after all, and it made it easier to let go of at the end, to leave that life to come back here. So I guess the realization there was more. Okay, Natalie, no worries. But again, if you happen to have a question for him, you're welcome to jump in. Does he think, asked Natalie, that we will ever have the free energy he was trying to give us through his inventions? It's already been asked, no worries. No, kind lady, it has not already been asked. And I think at some point, yes, it could possibly be a reality, depending on the decisions that are being made now in working towards changing things for the better. That yes, that is a potential future for humanity, but enough of you have to want it in order to make it be. True change cannot happen until the majority of everyone's consciousness is on board towards making things change and shift for the better. And in doing so, then you can recreate the world in which you live in, of what you accept as the norm. But enough have to I believe you use the word shift up, in order to see that it can be different, to have that understanding, but go forward together in creating that new reality, to set aside more of those differences. It can get there, sure. That is one possible reality and outcome for humanity. It is starting to happen, but there has to be a whole lot more on board before true change can take place. Switch cords because this one's starting to get a bit low. Bear with me so I can see where it is. Plug it in, plug it in. There we go. And Karen says, I'm on the change team. I'll drag some kicking. He said that is the one thing with free will, even though, yes, in most occasions it is a gift to have it. However, there are still those that, as long as their corner of the world is addressed and taken care of, they don't look at the bigger world around them. and not understanding that the bigger world around them does have an impact on their small circle of it. So once those can be kind of matched up in understanding, then growth can happen, and hence more people can evolve in their thinking and then step up to a higher level. And these are his hand motions he's showing me, by the way. It can get there. It can. It is simply a matter of choice amongst the many for the greater good. No, you cannot make everyone happy everywhere at the same time. It is not possible. But can the majority come to the same understanding that for the greater good things need to change? Yes, it can happen. And my hope is that humanity will get there, as is the hope of many of us who reside on this side and who are still very much watching with bated breath as it plays out, as well as the consciousness we have of any lives we're currently living in that existence. It can get there, and we have to remain hopeful that it is possible to achieve that. And the more that can do that and hold the hands out to those who are straggling, perhaps, or on the fence, if you will, to show them another way, then things can shift and become better. Let's see. I've gotten through to some that way, says Karen. Sandy says, thank you so much for answering our questions. You are very, very welcome. Karen says it hurt, but they grew. My bruises heal. Some just need extra help or push. Kim says, hi, Jake. And Aaron says, ain't that a kick in the head? Yeah, right, son. I know you could use some aspirin to help you with your joints tonight, huh? We'll hook you up after the show, son. He likes Jake too. So I think that's a pretty helpful message he's bringing forth, in that it's not shutting it down as a possible outcome for things, that we can get there if we work together for the greater good and set aside the individual agendas of money, 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 and, you know, he with the most toys wins. He said that saying of you can't bring it with you when you die is quite accurate. You cannot. And so having the most of it before you die is really a futile effort, because it serves no purpose once you cross over. And if more people could recognize that it's not about having the most of everything before you cross over, then the world could get to be a better place. And heck, even if people could perhaps, I don't think it's meant to be found yet, but at some point it may, all of the plans that are hidden within, say, the Egyptian pyramids or the other pyramids around the world, there is a connectivity that exists amongst them. And at one time, they did all work together on one system that was run by higher beings. But those plans on building them were given to humanity, different cultures of humanity, select few who were ready to receive it and could be entrusted to protect that energy, that knowledge of that connectivity. And again, it's there, but it hasn't been found yet. But when the time is right, I think it will be discovered and brought forward, and perhaps that system can be reactivated again and serve towards the greater good. Oh, come on now. And it says, yes, thank you, Mr. Tesla, for coming through and answering all these questions. You are a really great energy. Thank you. The man who dies with the most toys still dies. Correct, Aaron. Just once or thrice, says Karen, with the extra push or help. He said, just remember that each person does have free will to make their own choices. That yes, you can help through guiding them, However, ultimately, each has their own choice to make with that, of whether they choose to evolve and step out of their little bubble to join a greater bubble, or to keep things as it is, which is true. So why don't we go ahead and vote on next week's topic? And I want to also, oh, it's okay, Tanya. No, I was on. I know it's a new time, honey. It's hard to, I have trouble kind of remembering that in my head, of adjusting my schedule to fit the new schedule too. So don't feel bad. Karen says she's given up on some. He said, no, not everyone can help everyone. And that is really the truth of it, is to be able to move on to those who are willing and ready, and not to step on or step over those who are not, but to understand when they are ready, then that shift will happen for them. And it's not something that can be forced. So I want to, on that note, on that positive note of hope for the future anyway, to say thank you again for coming through to talk to my group, and also to give us the information you had about your life, to better understand you better as a person, and also to experience you from the other side of the veil, um, and sharing your wisdom with us. So I honor you and thank you for coming through. You all are too kind, and thank you for spending so much time with me, listening to me ponder the paths of the universe with you. I am here if anyone needs to reach out in the future. So then, many blessings on all of your journeys then, and may they all serve your greater good. He said, to each of you as well, I pass on that same blessing. Natalie says, thank you so much. I've always admired you. Kim says, thank you. And Karen says, thank you. So everyone is very grateful for your time and your energy for us. What is that you say now? Happy trails and many blessings to each of you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And he is gone. Okay. Yes, I know you're going to have to go out soon, Jake and Bake. I get it. Find my pen. Yes. All right, guys, there you go. Ramona says, I wish I had known him. Yeah, he's a very interesting person. Picky in life, anyway. Very OCD in life. However, bloody brilliant mind. And he was given the mission to help evolve humanity, through his inventions, through his work, and hence the hyper focus on it, I guess. So yes, he would have been an interesting character to know in life. So topics to vote on for next week, guys. We have on the table Thunderbirds, the difference between tarot and oracle cards, Atlantis, ancient Egypt, the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, tulpas, Greek mythology or dragons, and there was also to channel a gentleman by the name of Ross Peterson, who I guess was much like Edgar Cayce. Having OCD probably helped him with his work. I'm sure to some degree. I mean, it definitely influenced how he interacted with others as well. But, with his work, yes, it gave him that dedication he had. Okay, so Erin says the tablet. And Natalie says the tablet. Tanya says the tablet. Sandy says Thunderbirds. Brenda says, what me and I know I can't take it with you. We leave to our children and their children. Absolutely. Karen says tablet or tulpas.
Atlantis.
Sandy says Thunderbirds. What's Katie?
I vote Atlantis.
Katie wants Atlantis. Uh, Karen got Karen's ready. Stacia says, "Ooh, Atlantis, ancient Egypt, dragons. I can't decide." You know what? It's common, and lots of people throw in multiple votes because there still ends up being one moral majority, anyways. So, Ramona says tablet. Gotcha. Now there are times where if a show isn't going to equal 3 hours, I may try to kind of tie it into another topic that can meld with it to fill up the 3 hours time. Yeah, I was speaking when she came through, so I didn't hear her the first time, Aaron, but I got her the second. We good. And Amanda says Thunderbirds. So if there's one that once I get into the research, it's not, in a normal Willows Bend show might take up an hour and a half, 2 hours or something. Well, I'm going to add something to it that's related, at least to blend it together in order to take up the 3 hours time. So just be aware. And James says Atlantis. Gotcha, Dad. And is that also Mom's vote as well? I take it. You guys always tend to vote the same. Here's a new topic of man boobies. Really, Aaron? Really? You're going to make somebody roll over in their grave. I'm just saying. Now, boobies is more like Amanda and Katie's topic to cover, not really Willow's Bend. Just saying. Katie's rolling. That's more of a goddesses and devils topic. You got to get your shows right, Aaron. Come on now. What's that, Katie?
Aaron needs to keep his mind out of the gutter.
And Amanda's shouting, boobies!
Hey, we did discuss on our last show that we may change the name of the show, so who knows?
It could happen. Tanya's asking, laughing her ass off, Aaron, where did that even come from? And he says he's been behaving for most of the show. No, you haven't. You really haven't. What's the matter, son? Let me straighten it out for you better. We're almost done, boo. So any other votes? We got Thunderbirds, the difference between tarot and oracle cards, Atlantis, ancient Egypt, the Emerald Tablet, dragons, tulpas, Greek mythology, or channeling for Ross Peterson. No, he hasn't been behaving for most of the show. He really hasn't. First, I read that as moist. See, we know where your mind is at now, Aaron. You're not fooling us. Moist boobies? That there's an interesting thing. So topics speak now or forever hold your peace for next week. You did tulpas, didn't you? At one point, maybe long ago, but I didn't find it like a specific note session or section on it, Sandy. So I don't think it was actually fully covered. I think it was part of a new or part of another topic, kind of blended in. The topics come up in discussion, but I don't know if it was presented as its own topic. Which is worse, the term moist or damp? Damp doesn't bother me. Karen says, "You sweaty." See, now my crew's cutting up. All right, so it looks like the Emerald Tablet wins for next week. Has the most votes. So let me circle that so I know what I'm doing for research. And so the Emerald Tablet, Aaron Schwartzballs, exactly, Tanya. Yes, it came up. So tulpas came up with dealing with like Slender Man and stuff, which is a form of a tulpa, but I didn't find it in my notes anywhere as because I have like an index written on because I'm a little OCD. I won't lie. I have an index written on the outside of all my notebooks to list what the topics are, so I don't get a hunt. So Thursday for Beyond the Veil, you have an actual topic. Do I want to know or ask you, Erin, or, Brenda's asking, Erin, were you breastfed? The Dead Sea Scrolls. We did cover that already, Erin, not that long ago, actually. But again, if there comes up a topic where, I know it's just not going to be a 3-hour topic to cover research wise, then I will combine with the other topics. So there may be a time where the Dead Sea Scrolls blends into another one. I would like to say yes, but I was adopted. Yeah, we did do the Dead Sea Scrolls, I want to say last year. That much I remember. Since what sucks about my archives being gone is that, I can't just run and look stuff up. No, you weren't there. And of course, I can't now refer you to watch the show because it's gone. But I mean, it doesn't mean it can't be reintegrated into another show. Most Willows benders are okay with reruns, if you will. So with Beyond the Veil, Thursday's show, I was thinking of covering again the steps of your awakening because there are so many new people watching and so many found that really, really helpful the first time we did it early last year, I want to say it was. So I thought that would be a good topic to get into for Beyond the Veil on Thursday. Just for people to find out even where they are in the process and where they can go with it. And y'all always like quizzes and things like that too. So, yeah. So there we go. And then Friday will be readings on my Facebook page. Yep. I did cover it once at length, but it was a bigger topic. So hence me thinking that might be good to recover again for everybody. So that'll be the plan, folks. So, thank you all for listening in out in the land of the Global Enlightenment Radio Network's reach. And for those viewing in the places where it can be viewed, YouTube, Facebook, MeWe, is that what it is? I'm still getting used to some of the names of the other social networks. So thank you, Sandy, and thank you all for coming to Willows Bend and Facebook land. And so, yeah, that'll be the plan for next week then is the Emerald Tablet of Thoth. This Thursday will be the Awakening show, and then Friday will be readings in my Facebook page. So love and light to everybody. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate every one of you. And for those who are listening in as well, and hope that it was a good show on your take of things as well. So many blessings to all of you. Stay safe out there. Treat each other well. And have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, depending on where you're at. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Good night. Okay.